but big tech leading it off with Nvidia. Let's break down some of these numbers here, Kev. Even though we've had 2 days of weakness, stock's still up 1.1% for the week, up 117% this year, up 184% from year-ago levels. Last May, on that earnings call, when they saw that big jump in revenue based on their new AI chip, that sent the stock to record highs just 2 days ago. I mean, you can't discount what they've done because they're the picks and shovels of AI. They're the ones that are profiting from it, and they keep on upping guidance and knocking the ball out of the park.
The current day good news is everywhere. It's overwhelming how much good news they have. So why is the stock struggling up here? And ahead of a stock split? Why is it struggling? Well, how about these stats, Tom? In their data center revenue, right? 40% of that data center revenue was AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud, right? Data center revenue is 85% of their total revenue. Who's their number one competition back trying to build their own chips? Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Meta, AMD.
Apple's in there probably too.
And the question everyone has to ask is, how many of these companies overbought chips and pulled forward demand? There's the question. If that starts to wane and the overall momentum in order starts to fade,
AWS said they upped their CapEx spend to $14 billion last quarter. They said that's going to be the lowest of the year. So they're going to keep investing.
The good stories are out there.
Yep. Let's bring back in Joe. Give me your take here on this stock, Joe. I get it. I get it why the stock's rallying to all-time highs. Earnings continue to beat. The valuation's actually going down here a little bit because their sales are so strong. But there's a little bit of cracks here and maybe competition coming down the road. I haven't seen anything yet.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about some fundamentals and valuations. I mean, look, you're looking at a company with net profit margins of an astounding 55%. That's not gross, that's net, right? So I mean, these are just, they're crushing it in terms of the growth. You're looking at a forward PE, as you said, Tom, it's growing into its multiple. It's around 40 times. I mean, that's when you're getting that type of margin expansion and you're only paying 40 times forward, I think, and you look at that from, the expected growth, maybe even a PEG ratio, 1.4. Which when you compare that with other companies within the tech space, it's once again, we're going to use that word astounding in terms of, their relative valuation to the growth. Now, the key is, and I think this is what you and Kevin were talking about, does that growth continue? Well, expectations for Q2 are still really high. So, that growth is kind of built into the guidance for Q2. But at some point, when does this thing start to consolidate a little bit with the overall market? Because even though it's been a standalone and up 40% over the course of this month, what catapulted it to those levels when that was very favorable earnings and guidance? And what are we going to have to wait for another 3 months? Will be, potentially favorable earnings and guidance. So, what is going to be that catalyst to push it to all-time highs? We'll have to see, because at some point, this stock represents 4 or 5% of the S&P 500. So if the S&P 500 rolls over, this thing's going to have to roll over too. And I think that's just kind of what we're seeing right now. I don't think this is an indictment specifically on Nvidia. It's more of just the fact that it represents such a heavy market cap or a heavy weight in the S&P 500 based upon its market cap.
Yep, backlog of orders, free cash flow increased over $30 billion last quarter. Free cash flow climbed over 400% during Q1, $14.93 billion compared to $2.64 billion in the comparative quarter a year ago.
And don't forget XAI. Yeah. That's just this week another demand builder, because they're not going to build their own in-house chips. So XAI is going to be buying Nvidia chips. So more demand, and they raised $6 billion this week. So.
Yeah, it's a CapEx machine right now, spend on tech at this point. Joe